After this small break, yes, there's a lot of food, mental food to digest, huh? Ciao.
Maria Christine is asking if you sent her the slides of this presentation.
I have sent, but I made some changes. And she cannot check through the streaming, or no?
Yeah, I think she also can, but she just asked.
Okay.
It's more convenient, to while you're translating it.
I don't know if I can do straight away. Because we transfer. Okay. Yeah, I have sent to her already. I have sent to her. Yep. Yes. Yeah. Nee. Yes. All right. So, thanks to Lama, he gave an incredible, beautiful instruction about how to meditate, and also opened the subject about compassion, love and compassion. And I will continue with a more medical perspective in regards to compassion. And as I shared with you yesterday, I'm working as a family doctor in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, family doctor is a mixture, you could say, between internal medicine and first aid help. And then it's a 3-year specialization. On top of that, it's possible to do another 2-year specialization and in palliative care. So this is what I did. And since then, I'm working in the field for hospice care. In the hospitals, we have a team to support the people who are dying in the hospital with the caregivers. And also in my own clinic, I've seen many people in this sense of passing away and how we can be of help. So today I'd like to share some aspects in that sense. You can hear the translation working? Perfect. Thank you, Maria. So I want to share with you one story. I think this is the earliest story that I could find about a compassionate caregiver, a palliative caregiver. Because what happened here, this is a twin that just got born, but they were premature. So many weeks in advance, they were born. One of them was good, the other didn't go well, so she was dying. And at that time, this is now 17 years ago, more or less, the protocol in the hospital was that one baby was in this small box with the oxygen and all these things, and the other baby was at the other box. And the nurse in the night saw that her heartbeat was going down. The oxygen level was so low. And the only thing that she could think about was, I put the sister back to the other sister because one is dying. And what happened at that moment, that when she put the 2 babies together, the baby embraced her sister. She put the arm around. And they could see that the oxygen level went up. The heart rate went back to normal. And in hours, the severe situation of dying changed in surviving. They're now 17 years old and sharing a lot similarities in life. But this was incredible, no? And if we talk about compassion in care, we think, oh, maybe I don't have to do a lot of taking care, but this was one touch at the right moment that brought healing. So why we don't talk about palliative cure in these moments? Often with medication, we cannot do that much, but we can do far more in our presence, in our touching awareness. So this is what I want to share with you today some about. If we talk about compassion, actually, in our Western society, we did not know about this terminology. In Buddhism, like La Michelle was explaining, it's very normal, compassion, how to develop love and compassion. But we had to create a definition or a terminology for it. And you can see around 1790 or in the 18th century, that was the first time when we started to talk in the West about altruism, a way to really take care of the other. And to compare what we nowadays use for definition, and I have to say there are many definitions of compassion. So I just added here some essence based on Professor Paul Gilbert. He is a specialist in, from the medical point of view, a psychological point of view of compassion, of La Michelle, some aspects. So we heard this morning of La Michelle very well. It's recognizing we all suffer and everyone strives for a state of deep peace and happiness. And we can generate a wish that what I wish for myself, I also wish for the other. And I would do everything in order to be of help for that person, or not even person, but maybe also for an animal or another other being to help. And it's the other part that it's there, I added, when you are compassionate, it's important not to run away from the pain, not overwhelmed by it, and do not pretend that the pain does not exist. Because this morning it was beautiful how La Michelle was explaining how we can practice on compassion. But it's something that we can do step by step. We need to learn. And it does not go spontaneously. And we are, especially I think, when we are also facing in extreme situations like death, the person itself goes through strong moments of suffering, but the whole surrounding, also the caregiver, the relationship around, so everyone is in process and many things are touched and strong emotions can occur. So let's see how we can deal with this. Just a small summary, because we are here as professionals also, because in the Western healthcare system, compassion not always was embraced that, let's say, enthusiastic. I remember just 10 years ago, we organized a conference in Holland about integrative psychiatry, and we requested Paul Gilbert, we invited him, this professor, to talk about compassion together in a dialogue with La Michelle on stage. But then our profession board in Holland, they said, compassion? Why compassion? Compassion is not at use in medical care. For us, we were in complete shock. Over the years, luckily, now compassion became normal. But I think it's good just to share some background why compassion is important. So here you can see, based on evidence and science that they did, some healthy aspects of practicing self-compassion. So improved happiness, good mental health, a stronger immune system. We see that people who are having diabetes, they have a better sugar levels. We see reduced anxiety, stress and depression, improvements in relationships. People can live longer, use less healthcare services, also interesting. And what I found also interesting is that on MRI scans, when a patient, when we as a caregiver experience this compassion, that we rewire our brains by taking care. So there's really something going on in our brain, like Rogier was also explaining the other day on Friday. Then showing some other research. I go very fast through it, but if you're interested, you can have a look at it by yourself. And also we see this increase of self-compassion, increase of mindfulness, and quality of life. And also in this meta-analysis, they found a reduction of depression, anxiety, and distress. And they repeated this study, and they found again the same findings, but also that they see that there is more acceptance of the situation itself. And that was also Lama was saying, like the leaf that is falling on the ground, it's there in its moments, and it's perfect as it is, and we cannot, all the conditions were there, that situation was there. And if we look in oncology, in palliative care, it's sometimes very, very hard what we're facing, no? Very, very tough how sometimes the life ends. And we cannot conceptually understand why this person at this age. So many things we get into context now. So by practicing compassion, this acceptance of the situation is good for the person itself, but it's also good for the caregiver. So then for the students and for us as healthcare practitioners, they also saw that if we as healthcare professionals work on compassion, it's of great benefit. So this was just some background why compassion is of use. Then what is palliative care? That's, I think, a big subject, but I put it very short. In the past, palliative care, we were thinking, okay, it's just taking out the physical symptoms like the pain and the suffering. But we have the European Association for Palliative Care. For many, many years, they were working on a definition that palliative care also means that we put a lot of emphasis on the psychosocial aspects and last but not least, the spiritual aspects. And this is in all the definitions of palliative care, you find these 4 items. So also the spiritual part is very important. And also the palliative care explains that we have to go from cure to care. So these 4 domains is about palliative care. If we speak about palliative care, it's not the last moment before life ends. Palliative care is a very long period, in fact, but it is the moment that we've, let's say, seen from medical point of view, we cannot cure anymore the disease, but does not mean that there is not anymore a period of life. So you can see that on the outer line, it's about symptom management, treating the people in this period that they know that it cannot be cured, but they don't know how long they still can live. Then there is often terminology used, end-of-life care. This is, you could say, more or less 1 year before passing away. And then you have the terminal care, and often the definition for terminal care is the last 3 months of life, more or less. To show it in another way, and I think this picture is very important to remember, if there is, well, one slide of this presentation, maybe this one you could remember. Because in the past, we really had this idea, okay, it is either cure or care. But with the new technologies of all the third line of chemotherapy, hormonal therapy, treatments that we have, sometimes we think, okay, this person is really, we cannot cure anymore, and suddenly they respond very well on medications. In that moment, we're back into cure. Then in the palliative care, we sometimes think, okay, this can just be something like weeks, and suddenly they can live for many years. Actually, living here and coming here for many years in Albagnano, seeing also how Albagnano was working and helping people in the palliative care phase, I have seen very, let's say, seen from my medical profession, strange responses. And from my point of view, I was thinking, well, this person is going to die very soon, and sometimes they lived long after. So palliative care is, we need to adjust. It's not something that is at one moment, and it's something that goes slowly, and over the time it becomes more clear, okay, we're now in palliative care. But for us as caregivers, there's one important thing to understand, okay, but how can we make the difference that the palliative care is going to the last moment, let's say the last year, and we speak about end-of-life care, compared to palliative care that can take for years. So for that we have one very useful question, and that is the surprise question. Does anyone know this surprise question, what it is about? Oh, here for sure. Okay, here it comes. This is the question. Would I, as the caregiver, be surprised if this patient or client would die in the next year? And it's a question especially for healthcare professionals to ask this question. Because what they found out, they did this research in England, and they asked family doctors to fill in forms only based on this question: would it surprise me if this client would die within 1 year? If they were thinking, no, it would not surprise me, finally they saw that 70% of the patients finally died within 1 year. So we have many tools over time that we can sense that things are not going well. And as professionals in the field, also as psychologists, you sometimes hear the questions that you think, this is strange, that people are already thinking by themselves about end of life. Sometimes it's the disease that goes far more fast, but the patient, their cells are still in a phase of, let's say, shock or ignoring. But you know, for example, in cancer care, that things can go quite different or fast. So we have a lot of knowledge and background, not very easy to put into straight words, but through this question we can check quite precise in this field of palliative care what is the situation. And over the years we can get better in it. But it's an important one. And why is it important? Because from the moment on that we think, okay, this person is maybe going to die within 1 year, in Holland we start with an advanced care planning, advanced care treatment. And that is based on the 4 pillars I mentioned. So we were looking for what is the physical situation and how we can adjust on the situation already in advance. What can we expect in this situation? We're going to check what is the social situation of the person, what are their needs, are they in fear or in freeze or all other forms, and also to check what they're living for, what are things that they are holding on, and that's based on spiritual parts. So we use this advanced care planning or advanced care treatment, and we go from the cure to the care. Okay. Then we make one more step, because from cure we go to care, and in the palliative care they already recognized long time ago that compassion actually is a very central tool inside of our work. So they stated compassion has been recognized as a key aspect of high quality healthcare, particularly in palliative care. So this is really one advantage that palliative care movements already mentioned. Yes, compassion is very central in our work, but there is a but. This is also what we have seen, that inside of healthcare professionals there is a lot of empathic distress, they call, and empathic fatigue. So we also, it's in literature you can find also the terminology compassion fatigue. Anyone heard about it? Yes. And compassion fatigue, seen from Buddhist point of view, it's very weird, because how in earth you can get tired when you practice compassion well? It generates energy. It brings in a way such a deep state of joy, because you can help the other within the acceptance what exactly that situation is. So if we are in complete balance and the other person also can find acceptance and peace in that situation in which it is, and every life I can, after 15 years of my work in palliative care and family care, there is never a moment that patients really say, okay, well, my life is finished, it's fine. Either they say it because they're having a lot of pain and suffering, so they say, okay, it's better like this, I finish. Or most of the time it's a shock. No? The ones who are completely fine and at ease, okay, I rounded up this life in this split second, this moment, maybe lamas, but for us people most of the time it's a shock. So what's happening, that as caregivers often we get in kind of stress and conflicts, and it's a drainer. So this is a trouble that we see a lot. If we look at burnout, Rogier was also showing in his slides, burnout, not the, let's say there are many causes. What causes burnout? It's not only empathy fatigue, but there are many stressors that create a drainer of energy. But let's have a look how this works. As we are here also in the psychology course, I wanted to show some work of Paul Gilbert, and maybe you know him, and maybe it can be of interest. So Rogier explained the other day about our brain. No, we have this tendency of when we are in danger, we fight. When we are not anymore in danger, we either relax and we give ourselves some rewards, like eating, or we're going for shopping. For the cat, it's catching a mouse. And we have a moment to really relax. And also Paulo was mentioning the other day, that Lama mentioned that a tiger, or when a zebra is attacked by a tiger, after the threat, it shakes, and it starts to eat again the grass. So the system of the animals is far less complicated than ours. We find very much often difficulties to get through this relaxing mode, this soothing system. To put it in another way, and these are slides that I borrowed from Paul Gilbert and also from Van den Brink. Up, you can see the fight and flight. So this is the threat system, and it's related also to the adrenaline. The other system is that we have the reward system, and it's related to the dopamine. And this is all about sympathetic system. But we would like to get more to the parasympathetic system, to relax and to digest. And this is a part of taking care, relaxing, and in this phase, this blue part, this is also the place what we're looking for when we try to meditate. No, if we are in this upper two levels, either through phone or thinking about the bad colleague or this hardship in patients that we have seen, we are in this stress system, and we want to go back to a normal and relaxed state. Not only through meditation, but also in the moment that we are having our encounter with palliative care patients. It can be very intense, stressful. No? Sometimes they are in such full emotion. Often we see that also the caregiver becomes the enemy, no? That we are the ones that they are blaming or whatever. So how can we get more to this state of resting system, the parasympathetic system? Just to mention some more about this whole system. If we are in this fight mode, in the past it was fighting the animal. Nowadays we're fighting inside of our mind, no? By judging others, we think all day about things that we went through. And it's nice that they had a look how we as from a mental state, create this state of danger. And most of it's inside of our mind. So this is also what Lama was mentioning this morning, that often we create a lot of troubles inside of our mind. And if you look about this, fight, flight, freeze system, that instead of fighting the other, often also we can get into self-criticism. So we fight against ourselves. Or the flight can either be going out and going somewhere else, but we also often see that we get more stuck inside of ourselves, blocked in our emotions. The freeze state often also is mentioned, like that we only think about ourselves and we cannot even connect anymore with the dear ones around us. If we're really in a strong stress, it's even hard to connect with your husband or wife. But we like to go to this compassionate state in which we can feel more open towards ourselves and to the other. The other part, the dopamine part, that we start to reward ourselves, also called the competitive mind. Again, we're stuck in this system, and we're focusing on the rewards. We want to achieve things, So we are busy, busy, busy all the time, and we're still stuck in the either adrenaline or the dopamine system. So, to put it short, the threat system, you could say, the things that we attack, we don't like, but the moment we go through the other system, the drive system, is I like this and I want to have more of it. So you can see, let's say, the self-fulfilling prophecy is that we're trapped in it. Either I can't live with it or I can't live without it. But there is a solution. So it's avoiding what's inevitable or grasping what's impermanent. This is the state we want to work for, no? This compassionate state. And in that state, we accept the situation, we try to bring ourselves in a moment of non-judging. And as a healthcare professional, when we're, for example, in palliative care, we can encounter very strong situations that are not the situation that we were thinking that would be the best way to finish life, for example, to go through this process of end-of-life care. But we can check for the other what their needs are and how we can support them. So we go from this system of threats and we try to get in this soothing system. But how we do? Lama was explaining this morning beautifully, and I did not expect he was talking about it, so that's wonderful. And so I can go a bit more short through that part. But here are some books. If you're interested in it, books seen more from a medical point of view. Of course, I have put here the center because for myself, I'm all day learning of Lama Michel, how he's explaining also this morning in such a short, beautiful explanation. He can say so many specific and helpful ways to practice on compassion. But these ones I can recommend. And compassion for care, for example, and the chart of compassion is a big movement worldwide, no? So we can see in many ways. So just some practical advices how we can cultivate compassion. It's not a technique, but an attitude. We cannot change the other, but we can interact. We accept ourselves, and in that way also we can see, okay, we accept the other in that situation, whatever it is, and we try to see where we can be of help. And we start with loving ourselves. I wish myself not to suffer, and I wish the other the same. And out of this perspective, we try to see how we can help, to give some help, some support. And compassion needs to be trained, what Lama was saying, step by step. We can take many objects during the day to work on how to develop more patience, more love, more trust. And it's interesting that to get to this more compassionate state, we see that it's important to reconnect with ourselves, but it's not so easy when we are completely stressed out after a whole day work. To reconnect with the nature is more easy, like what we were doing yesterday. So we can reconnect also with the other in the evening. We put on the stufa, some fireplace. But there are many ways to reconnect with ourselves, and from that state we can observe the emotions that are happening inside ourselves, but also observe better what happened in the situation that we were in with the patient. So in mindfulness, there is this part that we are more aware. But what we, for example, see in our Western culture, for example, in Holland, we also in Holland we have a type of church, and this group is big, and they also have a lot of guilt by themselves. So they start to meditate, and then they see, oh, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, and it can feel like a punishment to yourself, no? That you start to kind of castigate. What is this? This can happen when we get more aware about ourselves. And then it's important to again see also the mild version, to be mild to yourself. This is the starting point of self-compassion. Then we can take in our meditation, for example, the patient in which we are in the situation we're in. Sometimes we're definitely struggling also with the immense emotions that come out and sometimes are projected on us. And to see, okay, which part is touching me, which part is of the patient, how can I interact in this situation to be of help? So there are also some traps in it. It's when we are working on compassion, we start where we are. So do your best at your own level. There is no ideal caregiver, no? We are the ones, and we are also in process. Compassion has limits, so accept our limits. So we practice in it, but if you feel, oof, I like to give help, but it's too much, the minimum is that we think about the intention of giving the help, but maybe we cannot give the actual help. So, and also it's important not to get frustrated. Use your own weakness as a sort of strength, and take good care of yourself. And if you are in difficult situations, it's really beautiful to see that it can bring a lot of new insights. So sometimes we think, oof, this is a really, really difficult situation. This is painful, or brings us as professionals sometimes in very problematic decisions. So we try to see how we can overcome. And last but not least, often when we give care, we think maybe the patient will say, thank you. They're appreciating what we're doing. And often this, or some people never will say. Sometimes they even blame you afterwards in taking care in the end-of-life care, that afterwards some people say, but the family will say, but I expected you to do this and that. So all these things can happen. So it's important to realize. Or that the client is interested in what we're explaining and they don't do. And we hope they get better, or they can find their way in a good way of the process of dying. Not always happens. Okay, so just having a look for the time. If I have I can just share with you, because I think it's nice to go to a more practical part to end with. Because in these years of my palliative care work, I work with this model of Carlo Leget. He's a professor in Holland, and he's professor in humanity. Is this correct, Rogier? Is it an English word? Humaniteit? Yeah, humanity. Yeah. And what he did, he sat for 2 years alongside the bed of people who were dying, and he was looking what kind of life troubles they're facing in the end of life. And he was making a lot of notes, and he was trying to see if there was a kind of similarities between the people who are dying, kind of common similarities. And then he also had a look at historical backgrounds. So he came along a passage of the monks who were giving end-of-life care in the time of the plague. You could say the same like we had in the COVID time, no? At the time of the plague, the monks were the palliative caregivers. And they wrote down what they were experiencing, and they found, let's say, life topics that people were facing. And then he thought, this is interesting, because the plague happened 400 years ago. But what he was encountering in those years in his work were the same topics. So I think, that's interesting, no? Time passed by, but the topics are more or less the same. So he created a schedule of 5. And the first item that he found was, who am I and what do I really want? This is something, a more important question in our daily life, but especially also when we are, or people are facing end of life, this question pops up even more strong. Because some things we will lose. We lose the... maybe the physical functions, and we cannot do what we love to do. But there are still other things that we can do and what we can appreciate. So it's a dynamic question, and I ask this question often along this process of this advanced care planning. What is for you important to do? And how can we adjust this palliative care for you in this situation? How do I deal with suffering? This is a question also that patients are facing. No? How do I deal with this pain? And we say, you don't have to feel pain. No, we say, because we have now opioids. But it's, let's say, part of the solution. We cannot always take away the pain. And the suffering is far more than physical suffering. We have a strong part of mental suffering. So how do I deal with this? Then how can I say in a good way goodbye to the dear ones? How do I look back on my life? And often there's guilt involved, that people say, I regret this, I regret that. And how to deal? Because in this moment, sure, we can change. No, we can think, okay, I regret life, I'm going to change. But in the moment you're facing the end of your life, you cannot change anymore often. Sometimes it is possible to have a family talk or with the one you're in conflict with. But sometimes it's also acceptance, the only solution. Accepting what happened and trying to find acceptance and space in that. And if things are falling apart and you don't have a spiritual background, what can I hope for? What is left of my life? And this is, I think, a very demanding question that I see a lot in my work. That if nowadays, what we also saw just 2 days ago from Ogier, the spirituality is in decline. And people often don't have tools anymore, especially how to transcend this life to whatever, if there's something else after life, we don't know. But at least how to say goodbye to the dear ones and have a kind of holding to something that can be of help. What is the center of all this? What the Carlo Leget, this professor, he called it inner space. I call it inner peace, because he figured out that by practicing compassion training or love compassion, love self-compassion to yourself, all these 5 domains, if people can find a place inside of themselves which is safe, where they can relax, and it's an internal state, it's a meditative state, and deal with that situation, it's often I see that the symptoms of pain or the dyspnea or other things, they reduce and it's more easy to cope with. So what I like very much of this model, it's not a model only for the patient, but it's also a model for us as caregivers. So by working on my inner space, when I, for example, encounter patients in palliative care, often it's when I'm making my rounds from going from house to house. They say in the training that I did, just before entering the front door, you visualize there if there's not this how to say this thing to clean the feet. No, what is this English word? Sorry? Yes, the carpets. Yeah. So it's the carpets not only for the shoes, but it's the carpet of your mind. So I do quite a good, thorough cleaning of my shoes, and I think, okay, I step inside this house with an open mind, with a clear, open perspective, and I see what I will encounter. And then I will search with them in one of those 5 domains what they want to talk about. And then sometimes we do another topic. And it brought me very interesting talks, and it was of great help for the people. I remember one lady, I was already helping her for many years, but in the last phase, okay, we had these talks, and then I found this model. So I asked her, let's take this. And then I asked her, what can you hope for? Just this question. And then she said, I want to be baptized. And then I thought, baptized. I was surprised because we knew each other for a long time, but this popped up like this. So I phoned one priest and I said, okay, I have a dying patient who wants to be baptized. What do you think? And she said, it was she, sure, I come. And I talk with her. So she talked with her. And she said, I will come back next week because she will not die in 1 week. And we talk a little bit more because I felt there is a strong, the talking about this subject gave her so much strength. She was so happy. She said, I will prolong 1 week. And this was a lady with a huge liver tumor, completely with metastasis. And she did this every week, and she was expected to die within 1 month, but it was 3 months. Then she had a control at the hospital, and they were doing the echography, and they were saying, this is weird, the tumor is smaller compared to 3 months ago. They did not expect at all. And they said, in a way, it's stable, it's completely not stable in a way, but in the situation is stable. Then the priest called me as a family doctor. He said, what do you think? Shall we continue in this way? Because in fact, it's a 9-month training to do the full baptism. I said, well, you talk with this lady. If she's fine with it and it brings her energy, we continue with it. She could finalize. She finalized the full 9 months out of any expectation. Just a few weeks after she passed away, but this was her fulfillment. And I was so happy that I popped up this question and that I could give her this help. So just to share with you this model that I can really recommend you can find on internet. It's Ars Moriendi. So this inner peace, it's about full acceptance regardless of the company and the situation I find myself in for myself and for the other. And this picture I found in the Pantheon just recently when I was at a conference in Rome. And I like very much because in our practice, in also self-healing, we use this mudra. It's the Mahasukha mudra, and it's a full peace, inner peace. So I thought I put this picture here, and this is what I wish for all of us, and to continue with your work. And I really appreciate that you're putting so much effort for this group of oncology patients. Yesterday I spoke quite enthusiastic about how to prevent, but this today is also what we can do in the care. So I like to thank you all and a good continuation for today. Are there any questions? That's good. Sorry? Yeah, good. Sorry? That's good. So we have a small break, I think. 5-minute break. Good. And I have to excuse me because I have an online training at this moment, but I will step in and out, okay? But I'm very sorry that I have to find a solution to do 2 things at the same time, but finally we manage. All right.